I'm not sure that people, probably because you don't talk about it all that much, really realize how good of a player you were in college. And again, coming in as a guy kind of born to think the game as a point guard, think the game as a coach, that training that you had growing up had to be a huge advantage to your Big East Rookie of the Year. I mean, what made you a good player? Because frankly, looking at you, I could see why maybe people don't realize how good you actually were.
I think I'm blessed with, again, a dad who's a great coach. You can get tools, especially when you're like a quarterback in football or you're a point guard in basketball, that have nothing to do with how quick you are or sometimes even the skill level. It's the game within the game, being able to really run your team and see the game at kind of a different level. And that's no question something that I had going for me. I wasn't the quickest player in the Big East. As a matter of fact, I would have been on the wrong end of that. But I made up for it with skill in a competitive nature. Like growing up in my house, like I said, it wasn't okay to lose. And that competitive spirit really embodied through my dad, where he grew up, how he was, and then how he was as a coach. And to me, those types of players, and I was one of them, you enter college ready to go. There's nothing that I hadn't seen before I entered Pitt as a player, and that really helped me.
As a kid, you're into basketball and you're working with your dad and you're growing up in this environment and you're so into improving and dribbling that you start to become this expert trick dribbler. And it forms this almost, I don't know if you'd call it a career, but really for a certain point of your life, you spent a lot of time putting on exhibitions. You went on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. And it's kind of an interesting chapter of your life. How did you go from being just a core basketball player to being an entertainer at such a young age?
Well, it started with me picking the game up early in life, my dad being a high school coach. Back then, there wasn't the baskets that came down to 6 feet, so it was only a 10-foot goal. If you were in second or third grade, you had one choice if you liked basketball, and that's to learn how to dribble. I had a great teacher. 5-star basketball camp was around where I grew up. I would go up there all the time with my dad. There was a performer there, and that's what I would call him, a performer, George Shower. They called him Crazy George. He could dribble 2 balls, 3 balls, 4 balls. And I think my dad, more or less as a roadmap to help me become a point guard, he would give me different drills with 2 balls, with 3, and I picked it up. Where I became kind of the halftime show person or Tonight Show, Sonny Vaccaro had the Dapper Dan Roundball Classic in Pittsburgh at that time. And he had heard about me, probably through Tim Gergerich, Coach Gergerich, who was the head coach at Pitt. And, my dad being a high school coach, when I was around, you could see that I was different. I could do anything with the basketball, 2, 3, 4. He invited me one time to do a halftime show. And, I was so nervous. 9 years old, I think, is when it was.
9.
I went out there at halftime, and it was like everybody stopped and everybody watched. And, I got a standing ovation. And, it was like one thing led to another. I could have done any halftime show in the country. But I'll tell you, it was a difficult time because I wanted to be a player. And believe me when I tell you, it is a wind the road. Once you start being that Tonight Show kid, halftime kid, the kids will give you a hard time.
You get teased
and then,
about it?
Yeah, then you get put into a category of he can't play. How many players do you know that can really do halftime shows and yet they're this great player? So I juggled both hats for a while, but I wanted to quickly get on the side of playing because I think if you talk to my dad, he would tell you that the whole orientation of basketball started with being a good player, not this halftime show guy. But, when I tell you, I look back on it, one regret I have is I wish I had myself on more video, like in today's world, because what I could do at 8 and 9, I don't even bother talking about it because no one would believe me. It was just one of those things where it just evolved, and you spend that much time doing one thing, you can really get good at it.
Would you welcome Sean Miller?
Do your current players know this part? I mean, because there are some clips on YouTube. I went on there just this morning. I knew about the Carson thing, but I never tried to go on, and I saw it. And these guys, I think they'd get a kick out of it.
They probably would. I mean, I can remember playing against Georgetown. I mean, right in the heat of the Big East, and every one of their guys knew I was on a Tonight Show. I mean, this wasn't something that was always like, awesome, you were on a Tonight Show. Yeah, I mean, fans, I mean, visiting fans, it's something that I've gotten hit on. Ironically, I would say the thing that people would say to me now that they would rib on me more than anything is that I look like Jimmy Kimmel. And it's interesting because on one hand, I have this Tonight Show deal that they've got me on for like maybe 30 some years.
I never thought of that, but
now
I
they
can see
flip
that.
it, and I'm like Jimmy Kimmel's